in response to no, the Prime Minister isn't calling off this referendum. In fact, today he went to the Governor-General to get the writs issued to make it happen, so it is on. But now, as I said, it's time for disaster management so that Australia doesn't come out of this October 14 referendum even angry, even more torn than it is now with this campaign. That, I think, is critical. Joining me is the panel, Michael Kroger, former Victorian Liberal President, and Stephen Conroy, former Labor Senator and Cabinet Minister. First, are we agreed that this voice is dead?
Well, clearly, all the polls in the last couple of months have showed that it's struggling. It's below the line. So it's absolutely the underdog. The campaign for the Yes campaign is just starting to find its feet. You're starting to see people at train stations. You're starting to see the door knocking, and I reject the suggestion just because people knock on the doors, Andrew, it's bullying. I think that's an unfair characterisation.
Oh, I'm not saying they are bullying.
Door knocking is a time-honoured tradition on all sides of politics. So I don't accept
No, I just think in the context here, it will be seen as bullying by many. It will be seen intimidatory.
I don't think so. I think people could well be sick of the whole debate. I think that's a fairer way to describe it. And Australians are pretty polite. I've door knocked, many times in my life.
Up on that. The point is, you are a hardhead. You've called things before, mate.
It is clearly the underdog at the moment. Well, it's clearly going to struggle to get up. But the Yes campaign have targeted it this way to be a slow burn, for it to be a crescendo over the next 4 or 5 weeks. Now, that may have been the wrong strategy, and on the day we'll find out, but that is the strategy, and they've got to now see that through.
Michael?
The handshake that Noel Pearson talked about when he said he's put out a hand of friendship.
Australia's just doing this.
No. It's a Mark Latham style handshake. That's what it is. And people can see that. Andrew, there is a great danger here, and you've alluded to it. The great danger is this, and we're seeing with your writing today and commentary today, and in the weeks leading up to and after, that the reason the voice was defeated was because Albanese performed badly, which he has. Linda Burney was out of her depth. There were extremists pushing it. The Liberal Party, Fred Nurk, Jack the Ripper, whatever. No, do not, under any circumstances, allow the debate to be defined by, when it's deconstructed, the result is deconstructed. It cannot be defined by the campaign. It has to be defined by what you've said, which is this is a fundamentally racist proposition being put into our Constitution forever that the Prime Minister hasn't even read. And that's why it's being defeated. Australians are clever enough to work this out. I mean, Richo always says the mob will work you out. Hawke always said they get it right. People have worked out this is a racist division which will permanently stain our country. That's why it's being defeated. It's not because Albo's done badly.
No.
Or that Marcia Langston is an extremist and ex-Trotskyite, or that Noel Pearson isn't able to argue. What is happening here is an understanding by the Australian public that we are not going to be defined and divided by racism forever. That's why it's going to be defeated. Don't let people say it's because Albo campaigned badly. Right? This is a very important point, because what will happen is the left write the narrative. They'll be saying in the next year, 2 years, oh, well, that's why it lost. It was fundamentally a great proposition, but Albo couldn't sell it.
That's why I think it's going to...
No,
that's the problem.
I don't accept Michael's premise at all. When Ken Wyatt, when the Liberal Party began this process, when they talked about the voice, when they said they would get behind it, was it racist then, Andrew?
Yes.
No, absolutely not.
I was totally against it.
Ken Wyatt, Scott Morrison,
Labor people,
Peter Dutton...
Stephen, Labor people are against it.
So let's be very clear.
Graham Richardson's against it.
Let's be very clear that the last Liberal government were not proposing a racist amendment to our Constitution. That's not what was happening. So to suddenly say it's losing because it's racist...
Propose a voice.
OK. Ken Wyatt...
5 minutes ago, the Liberals had been stupid.
But stupid, but you didn't accuse them of being racist.
I thought it was racist from the start.
No, but the point is that it couldn't have been, to use your own example, it couldn't have been racist when it was being proposed by the Libs. And suddenly, because Labor's championed it, it's
setting up a straw man. I have been
Okay.
totally consistent in being vehemently opposed to the racism inherent.
So the Liberals, Ken Wyatt, Scott Morrison were proposing a racist proposition.
Yes, a very stupid one. They were stupid. The point is now, let's look at October 14. This goes down a screaming heap. There are people that want to save their backsides. They don't want to be blamed for this, right? And I already see the narrative coming up. Do you think it'd be a mistake to say that Australians were either racist or they were duped by racists.
No, it's completely
or if they've
wrong.
just been given another slogan, a different song, not John Farnham, someone else's. It would. Or should you give...
No, there's a range of factors. I'm just not accepting Michael's proposition.
Should you give...
But it's a racist proposition.
It is a racist... But anyway, let's leave that to one side. Should you give Australians the credit, if it goes down a screaming heap, which it's going to do, that they saw through it or that they were fooled?
No, I don't think either of those propositions are correct. I think they are, at the moment, they appear unconvinced by the proposition, not because it's racist, not for the reasons you are arguing. They clearly don't feel the yes case has made a good enough proposition in the arguments.
You can't sell it. It's a racist proposition.
It's not a racist proposition.
You're dividing the country by race.
Before the last election, right? You were barracking for it. You were on the same side.
I've never barracked for that.
To be fair,
we barrack for constitutional recognition. But Albo sent that down the river as well. He's played all his cards. But, Stephen, people are voting against this not because of Albo, not because of Langton. They've worked out the proposition. To give one race of people special privileges over everyone else is contrary to the Australian ethos, to the way Australia operates as a multicultural country where we try and treat people equally. This offends that principle. It offends everything egalitarian about this country that we've tried to develop as a multicultural society over the decades. And now all of a sudden to say one group of people have a right to look at government legislation, to talk to the Governor-General, to talk to every public servant.
This is just a nonsense.
To have these rights that
every Australian can do that right now.
What do you think?
Every Australian,
they're not backed by the Constitution.
Not backed by law.
Every Australian can look at every piece of legislation.
What, the High Court will enforce my right to write to the Governor-General, will they?
You can just write to the Governor-General. You don't need anyone's permission.
If he doesn't respond,
you just.
Oh, Stephen.
There's one more topic. There's more